Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. My name is Brady Davis.
I am Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
And I haven't done shit this week. So, Jody, what have you done?
We got to pick up the slack, boys.
Yeah, I'm gonna be talking about video games and not current video games. These are video games that are coming out closer to the end of the year, maybe around the fall time. Sony really, I hear Sony, and I'm not a Sony fanboy, but I do like PlayStation. I've been a PlayStation fan ever since 1995. I skipped out on the 3 and got an Xbox 360. Just because the first 2 years of that system, the games were absolute dog trash. Mm-hmm. And as we all know, as we are all gamers, maybe not currently, depending on the week or the month or whatever, the games sell the console. Mm-hmm. So, the crazy thing about the 360 is early on, there was JRPGs on there. There was like one at launch and for the first couple of years they were pumping out a couple JRPGs. You had Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon. But anyway, I've always liked Sony for the most part, and of course, people that listen to the show might be yelling at me. PS3 had great games. Yeah, sure they did. 3 or 4 years into it, they had some great games coming out. And they might have had 1 or 2 during those first couple of years, but I don't want to wait that long. I wanted to fucking play Halo 3 because I did have an original Xbox and I really enjoyed Halo 2. Anyway, Sony sporadically interests me as far as like a gaming company. When they make announcements, I very rarely even care.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'm more excited to watch Nintendo, except for this last couple of Nintendo Directs, especially the State of Nintendo Now, where Jay just informed all of us that Mario Kart World was
$109.
There was a listing for Mario Kart World for $109.
Right. So yeah, that's a thing. But just on a whim, I decided my curiosity is piqued, and I haven't watched one in a while. I'll watch today's State of Play. And they made some game announcements that piqued my interest, even though most of these are for a system I don't have. The PS5, a few of them were for the PS4. One of the first games they made a trailer for, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, this is some sort of rhythm thing. I'm like, is this Lumines? Like, is this? And it is. There's a new Lumines game coming out called Arise, which is like a rhythm Tetris-like light and puzzle game, rhythm game. That looked really cool. And then there was a trailer for a game by Capcom that's going to come out in 26. They didn't say anything about what, section of the year it would come out, called Pragmata, where you play a I don't know if it's a space marine or if it's like just like an astronaut with some utility to him or whatever. But he's on this space station or this desolate spaceship. And he comes across this robot that she looks like she's probably like, if she was, age range, she would be like a child or whatever. But it's sort of like, it gave me vibes of that one BioShock game where you had like, you were playing like the big
BioShock 2.
BioShock 2.
Yeah,
where
you were playing the Big Daddy.
And there was like the ghost girl or whatever that you had as a companion. So you have this little AI robot as a companion, and while you in combat, he's basically like, she's coming along with him because he's needing her so she can help him figure out what's going on. While she's also like functional in combat. So there's a scene where they show actual gameplay of him like shooting an enemy one direction, and then she's shooting an enemy higher up at the same time. and also helping him in puzzle solving and things like that. And they had some interactions in storyline that looked really different. There's a new game from Suda51 coming out called Romeo is a Dead Man. And it looks like Sega as fuck, like Dreamcast kind of looking or whatever. The game starts with like, you know, these friends are all eating at this dinner party, and our protagonist Romeo answers a doorbell and then gets shot in the face. And they show it in graphic detail, and one of the characters jumps up and goes, "I've got this thing I've been working on," and shoves it into his eye, and basically it shoves some sort of robotic AI into his brain so that he can function even though he's not alive. And the action looked very kinetic. It looked really interesting. It gave me like No More Heroes kind of vibes. You know, very, very cool. Lots of bright
that
lights.
all sounds like a Suda51.
Yeah.
game.
Lots of bright lights, lots of crazy stuff going on. Very interesting. They showed a longer trailer for Silent Hill F, which is like the game that's set in like a very, you know, aesthetic, old looking Japanese town, ghost town. Looks very cool. There was a trailer for Bloodstained, The Scarlet Engagement. And at first I was watching it and I was like, did they make another Symphony of the Night style Castlevania game? And then when they got to okay. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. They made this one looks a little bit more, they took a little bit more liberties with the graphics and pumped up the graphics quite a bit. Also, there are a lot more playable characters in this instead of like your main character from Bloodstained. Although Jay played through that game, I didn't play all the way through it, so I don't know if it was just more than one character in that or not.
So for the primarily, it's just the one character, the witch. But that was now. If you're talking now, you also have Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon, Curse of the Moon 2, which is the 8-bit version,
the retro game,
which was I would argue Ritual of the Night is also retro as well.
Right.
But the 8-bit style game where you play as 3 characters, and what I love about, I want to say. I think his name's Iga. What I like about Iga's games is he has a knack of having these multiple, I don't want to say endings, but I want to say that multiple twists on where the story is going and what you do in the game requiring you to do different things. So that I think is fantastic.
There was a really cool,
he's fantastic in-game in-loop storyteller is the best way to put it.
Right. I like that. That's a really cool feature. I always like that when they do it in video games. In this, they showed some minor combat stuff, but one of the combat sequences they showed the main character fighting somebody.
Koji Igarashi. That's why it's called Iga.
Yeah. No. And they showed the main character and then to do a combo kind of move or whatever, another character kind of jumped in like Marvel vs. Capcom style and aided him to do this one big move on a boss. It was really cool looking. So that looks interesting. There's a yet another, and I'm not complaining about it, remaster for Final Fantasy Tactics called the Ivalice Chronicles, which you get an updated version of the 1997 classic with voiceovers this time, and they changed the story. So there's a little bit of prequel stuff happening there. It's been so long since I played A2, I don't remember what they did with that as far as like, I think it was like a little bit different of a story, but everyone has like British voiceovers. At least Ramza had. I'm assuming everyone's got British voiceovers. Sounded really cool. Also, with that game though, you get the original version of the game, so you get both versions in the game in one package, and I like that. Really cool. A game that I know Ethan's gonna love is a game called Hirogami, where you play a character made out of paper and you turn it to different origami shapes to do different puzzle things in it. So it looked really neat and really pretty, where you fold into different shapes like an origami. So it looked very unique and very different, and that comes out September 3rd. That's Hirogami, Hiro, Hirogami.
I'm intrigued.
There's another Hot Shots game coming out for anybody who likes those arcadey golf games. I could care less. There's a Ninja Gaiden game coming out called Ragebound, and it is a 2D side scroller. A new game with I don't know if it's going to be a roguelike or what, but that comes out July 31st, and that looked really cool. And then there was a really interesting rock climbing survival game called Karen, Cairn, that looked interesting, that comes out November 5th on the PlayStation 5. The Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection comes out some point in this year, and that includes Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, Ultimate 3, Mortal Kombat 4, and it says at the bottom, and more. So there's no telling what else they're going to add to that. Maybe, if we're lucky, Sub-Zero mythologies. So that's cool. And also, just like the Street Fighter 30th anniversary collection, you'll be able to play all these games online against opponents. So that's a cool thing. If you ever want to get some Mortal Kombat 2 action in, it's been a while since I played any of that. There's a remaster for Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. That looked cool, and there is at the end of the trailer, they showed one of the monkeys from Ape Escape in there. So I don't know. There's a mini game in there with that. So that was weird. There's a sequel to Neo, NIOH, Neo 3 by Koei Tecmo.
That's basically like it's not by the company, but it's basically a Dark Souls with like samurai.
It's a Souls-like.
It's a Souls-like.
There was an interesting first-person shooter co-op game called Tides of Tomorrow, where it looked like a first-person shooter, but also a runner game at the same time. So that looked interesting. There was here's another surprise announcement was by the studio that made Abzu and Journey, called Sword of the Sea. And it's sort of the same play style as Journey, but way faster. So you're basically surfing on a sword, and the gameplay looked really cool. Of course, the game looked beautiful. That studio makes very pretty games. There was a James Bond game, but there is a sequel, or maybe not a sequel, but another game in the series of the Ghost of series.
Ghost of
Yotai, where looks like you have a female samurai protagonist, and there was a wolf in the trailer, so I don't know if that's a companion or what's going on there. That's another Souls-like game. And then this is the last one I'm going to talk about. This threw me off until I started watching it, and they showed the development for it. So it's not by Capcom. It's by Arc System Works, which they've made fighting games before. I think they do the Guilty Gear series, but I could be wrong. But I know they've done fighting games before. But they're making a game called Marvel Toko Fighting Souls. And it's basically like a Japanese reimagining of Marvel characters. So you have like an Iron Man that looks sort of like I wouldn't say a Gundam, but more along the lines of like the Power Rangers-esque kind of look. And all the characters are speaking Japanese. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could make that English, but why would you? That looked badass. They basically upped it up a level. Because I was disappointed in the last Marvel vs. Capcom game. I thought it was like mid. This looked really cool, and instead of 3-on-3, it's 4-on-4. So you have 4 characters you can pull from, and so far, it looked really badass. You had there was Iron Man, Spider-Man, Storm, a girl that had not Plastic Man, but Fantastic Man's stretch ability. So
Ms. Marvel.
I think it's Miss Marvel.
Yeah, that's Kamala Khan.
Doctor Doom, Star-Lord, and Ghost Rider. Those are some of the characters they showed. And Captain America. And basically, like, for a second there, I thought it was like, are they already trying to do something with Marvel Rivals, because the characters looked kind of similar to that at first until I saw Iron Man, and I'm like, this is not Marvel Rivals. And then they showed the behind the scenes on that, and they've been working on that with I can't remember. I think they've been working with Sony, Arc System Works, and Marvel worked all together to make this game happen. It looks really cool, and if I had a PlayStation 5, I would be really excited to get it, because I'm all about fighting games, even though I suck at them for the most part.
Yeah,
I really enjoy it.
I said because of me too, not because you suck at them.
Yeah, I'm terrible at fighting games. I'm okay at Street Fighter Third Strike, but outside of that, with 2 characters, I'm not the best. But that's me. That's all I've been up to.
Was that PlayStation thing? Is that where they showed the thing from the next Witcher that people were losing their minds about, but then it was just a tech demo?
That was
that if we make a wish if we find a genie and make a wish, this is what the game can look like.
That was a collaborate. So the thing about that people got excited for wasn't just the fact that it was a good looking tech demo, which it was. I watched it.
It was a tech demo. Right. It never fucking looked good.
Of course. But the game itself is a collaboration with the Unreal 5 engine, and my brain shut off. Who made the Witcher game series? They made
Projekt Red.
Yeah, CD Projekt Red. And I want to say Unity, but I just said Unreal 5. Yeah. And so they're collaborating together, which means that the game is going to be better than most games that are made with the Unreal Engine. Yeah. Outside of your AAA titles, because typically Unreal gets a lot of bad rep because anybody that can do game development will take Unreal and slap the name on it. It used to be a name of prestige, and now because anybody's used it for garbage games, it gets a bad rep. But yeah, The Witcher 4 looks great, and I'm sure if they get anywhere near what they were talking about, it would be really, really good. But the thing is, when I was watching it, I always have flashbacks of the PlayStation 3 demo that they did.
Oh yeah,
they did a tech demo. And the graphics for the facial construction and movement looked similar.
Yeah.
And that was like 2005 or 6. So we'll see when the game comes out. Of course, the thing is about those tech demos, even if they got to the point close to where they were when they showed all of that, you would still have to have whatever the newest ultimate television was to be able to even see all that shit anyway. That's me.
All right, Ethan, what you been up to?
Had a weird work week where just a lot of overtime, certification classes, meetings, things like that. Besides that, I beat Expedition 33.
Nice.
And very sad. I beat Blueprints. I found the 46th room, and they had this like end of game cutscene where it also made me sad and depressed. But it's like it's one of those games where like you beat the game, but you can continue to like harder difficulties, achievement hunting, things like that, and just more in-game exploration if you haven't found all the secrets. So it's one of those like you beat the game, but did you really beat it? Sort of things.
They did that to me when I beat Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh yeah,
and when you beat the game, they go, hey, you beat the game, new game plus, but they start you at the chapter before the boss. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Do you want to do all these side quests before I beat the boss again? I'm good. I beat the game.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
No,
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
And then I got a game trial for a game called Bionic Bay, which is you looked intrigued by that.
I'm confused.
You didn't say Bionicle.
Yeah.
Bionic Bay.
It would probably been cooler if he would have said Bionicle.
Oh, it's always cooler if you say Bionicle.
Imagine you're a scientist and you're working, okay?
I'm imagining.
All of a sudden there's an explosion.
Okay.
Oh, man.
But you don't die.
Okay.
Instead, you are in this weird alternate reality sort of thing where everything is like automated mechanical machines, lasers everywhere,
lasers,
lava
and lasers.
It is, from what I've played so far, it's a puzzle platformer with ragdoll physics.
Oh, okay.
And there's like gravity manipulation, teleportation manipulation, things like that.
Okay.
And it also plays almost as if like you're trying to like speed run it. It's where it has like mechanics of running and dodging and jumping and diving.
Gotcha.
That makes the gameplay feel very fast paced until it gets to the point where it's like, okay, you need to stop and you need to like figure out how to solve this next puzzle, and then he can get back to speed running. It looks fun. I played it for a good hour. I might get the game. I haven't made that decision yet, but other than that, nothing really.
I watched someone beat Kid Icarus in like 15 minutes.
Damn.
Jesus.
That game took me months to beat when I was like, I don't know, 14, 15.
I had Super Mario Land on the Game Boy, and I played it so much that I got to where I could beat the whole game in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do 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 do.
I don't know any music from it because I never had the volume up. I was always playing it somewhere where I couldn't have the volume up, so I don't know any of the music from it. All right, Jay, what you been up to?
So apparently is the one true and only fan of Super Mario Land here. No. So real quick, a correction I have to make from a couple weeks ago. This is going to be weird, but when you're mixing, I was about to say grout. Good Lord. When you're mixing, fuck, I can't even think of the words anymore. It's not concrete.
Mixing
mortar.
a show?
When you're mixing mortar, it's not 3 3/4 to 5 gallons of water. It's 3 3/4 quarts to 5 quarts of water when you're mixing the stuff in. If you're using that much water, your wall's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that right now. So let me get that out of the way. I finally remembered to do that. So last week on Thursday, I was finally able to get Daybreak to the table. Daybreak is the cooperative board game set in the high fantasy setting of the United States and China coming together to end global warming. So that was amazing. But no, it was myself, Ethan, Ms. Bianca, and our friend John. We played. You play either the United States, China, Europe, or the majority world, and you have different energy and or emissions problems that you have to clear out. And you have to do it fast because if you don't, you're just going to choke the earth in shitloads of carbon. Oh my God.
All the carbon.
There was so much carbon. It was ridiculous. How much carbon was it?
Many carbons.
In the first round, you have 8 temperature bands. And whenever you fill out a temperature band, you put a permanent 0.1 temperature uptick. There's 10 because you start at 1.2 and you go to 2.0. And if you hit 2.0, like any kind of Matt Leacock game, once you hit the threat, boom, you just lose. You also have communities in crisis. If you get enough communities in crisis, any one person gets enough of those, boom, the game's over. You lose the game.
Also, environmental tipping points.
That's when you fire the scientists.
Yeah, that's when you get rid of them right there and then. Tipping points are terrible because so you roll a dice a number of times equal to the number of bands that you have on the board. Like it'll give you a specific number of stuff. That if you hit a tipping point in one of those areas, like if the thawing of glacial ice, if you hit that tipping point once, you add 2 carbon cubes for every player in the game, so you add 8.
Oh God!
And each band can take 20. If you hit another band during there, you then immediately go up to the next crisis level, which if it requires you to draw an additional crisis card, you then have to draw that crisis card immediately.
Oh.
And also, you need to roll the dice one more time. So you have to roll the die again. It's like, it puts a lot of pressure in the early game. If you can work together, and I think that's the major theme of the game is if you work together and can like, okay, I'll handle this and I'll handle this, and we all kind of, you have your own board and you're kind of working in your own space, but then once you've kind of got your space down, it's like, okay, well, I can actually take these opportunities to now help you, and now we can kind of pull everything together and make it work, which I think is definitely a simplification, but I definitely believe is when the notion of minds working in unison can achieve more than one thing.
Kind of Pandemic in a way.
It's specifically. I mean, it's Matt Leacock and
did he do it?
Yeah,
okay.
Matt Leacock and Matteo Menepas were the two designers on this.
Gotcha.
The board was rather the board game is constructed ethically, like there's biodegradable cartons to hold all of the stuff. It's wood. It's wooden tokens. No, I don't think there's a single dot of plastic in this box at all.
Nice.
So if you're going to do a game like this, I think it's also good. Yeah,
right.
You do that way. So I highly recommend Daybreak. This gets a strong recommendation from me. Ever since the pandemic hit, I've been looking for a co-op game that was meaningful, but also didn't bring up bad memories.
Right.
Because
that's the problem. The pandemic, the board game.
Well, yeah, I have to go to a second hand to count the number of between number of friends affected by long COVID and friends who had family members die of it. It goes well above one hand's worth of people.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't want to generate those kind of bad feelings.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Style-wise, design-wise, I still believe that Pandemic is a very good, very strong, and if it weren't for the subject matter, I would say you put this in your collection because this is an essential for a board game collection.
Right.
Do I think Daybreak rises to the level of essential? No, it's why it doesn't get my highest recommendation, but it is a very well put together game. It is a Matt Leacock game. I like the stuff that Matteo Menepas has put in this as well. You can tell there was a collaboration here because it goes past just the, okay, if there's enough cubes in this area to them, there's more consideration, I think. There's different consideration, and so it makes it a fresher kind of access to those games. So again, strong recommendation for Daybreak. Very, very, very solid co-op game. Plays up to 4 people. There is a solo mode. I'm never interested in playing solo mode, so I'm not going to do it in this one. But the solo mode, instead of playing one of the nations, you're just playing like a specific set of cards for a board and then working out from there. So yeah, strong recommendation for Daybreak. So there's this movie called Captain America: The Winter Soldier. For my money, it is the best Marvel movie they've ever done.
It's really good. It's one of my favorites.
It is 100%. If you want to know why the Russo brothers took over like the major movies in the Marvel universe, it's because of how good The Winter Soldier was and how disappointing Age of Ultron was. I think that's the two things that are working hand in hand.
Sure.
So there's this movie. It's called Captain America: Brave New World. And it is, for me, it is an uncanny valley Winter Soldier. So let me get the pros out of the way.
Sure.
Anthony Mackie came to this. Fucking strong performance. I love what he did in there. Harrison Ford, this was not just a work for hire. This was Harrison Ford being the president again. Didn't get a chance to say, "Get off my plane." But there was a lot of planes in the movie. The action set pieces were incredibly strong for me. I love the Indian Ocean battle at Celestial Island. I thought that was really well done. I think the fight between Red Hulk and Captain America, I think, was also very well done. There was a lot more emotion in that fight than I was going to give it credit for.
So I like that one like climaxes at the cherry trees.
Cherry blossom.
Cherry blossom trees.
And so there's a lot of stuff there that I really appreciate. It was good seeing Liv Tyler working again. I hadn't seen her in a movie in forever and a day. So
Lord of the Rings.
Forever and a day. Yeah, there you go. Those are.
She was in the TV show The Leftovers.
Leftovers? Okay.
She had a pretty big role in that.
And remember, the most recent Return of the King was more than 20 years ago.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm too old. Anyway,
Same.
so that's my
Revenge of the Sith just had its like 20th anniversary where they brought it back into the theaters.
Yeah. Tim Blake Nelson also as leader, I thought was very strong. There's a lot of
Can't
good
go
things
wrong
there.
with Tim Blake Nelson.
All right, so negatives. Giancarlo Esposito. This makes me almost want to throw up in my mouth, putting him as a negative. It is very clear his part was put in there after, as part of reshoots.
Yeah.
And they feel like they were fucking just stapled on in there. I like the fight between him and with him as Sidewinder, right?
I think he's Sidewinder.
Because I have kept calling him Cottonmouth,
Yeah.
and that's Mahershala Ali, and that's Power Man. That's Luke Cage.
Luke Cage.
So I think I don't know what was originally those pieces of the puzzle, but it's so very clear that like Giancarlo Esposito shows up because we need a scene. It from getting from A to Z, we had to pull this stuff out, and now we need a scene C, a scene H, and a scene U. And that's why he's there. And that is a absolute waste of the talent of Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate him. I hate the fact that they shoehorned him into this.
Yeah.
And it just feels bad and weird and wrong. The last part when he's in the movie feels casual almost to the point of nonchalant. Like just it's a also, so there's this Marvel superhero. He's called the Incredible Hulk. That green shadow is over this entire fucking movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you? Like what? Where is the Hulk?
This is the perfect movie for the Hulk to be in it, right?
You got Betty Ross. You got,
Don't worry, he's going to be in the next Spider-Man.
Thank God. Okay, good, good. Hopefully,
that's not a lie.
Yeah, no, it is.
Bruce Banner is going to be in Spider-Man.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So you have you have this Hulk storyline that they did better, but was still noticeable in Ragnarok, where this is not Captain America's story.
Right.
Yeah. This is a Hulk story.
Right.
Captain America I don't say Captain America should be a buddy. This should have been an Avengers Brave New World.
Yeah.
And we should have had some of the bigger guys in there.
New Avengers, yeah.
What New Avenger? I like New Avenger. I like the notion of New Avengers. I like because in a time where the Avengers don't exist, the Thunderbolts are there. So I liked that. I don't say I should have known, but it was a natural progression. They go from the Thunderbolts to the New Avengers.
Yeah.
This should have also been an Avengers movie.
Right.
Similarly, the way Captain America Civil War should have been an Avengers movie and pretty much was.
It was.
But yeah, so the whole thing feels it's like it's anytime it's a world like the world could end, where is everybody?
Yeah.
But in particular, the leader, Red Hulk, Betty's in the movie, the whole thing screams fucking where's the Hulk? Where is this going on? And that gets to my final thing is this movie, like I mentioned it in bits and pieces. Funny I say it that way. This movie felt like a Frankenstein. This felt like it was weaved together of, okay, let's take the political intrigue of Winter Soldier. Let's take the secret man behind the thing of Winter Soldier and all that. As cool as the leader is, and I like Tim Blake Nelson's version of the leader, I think he's very dry. Yeah. And he may have a reason for it, but it's so fucking warped because he's so fucking warped. He looks
like garbage, though.
He looks like garbage, but in a way where I would like to see the leader look like garbage. Instead of just the comical, I have a giant swelled head. Yeah. He looks like a fucking mutant, like a gamma mutate. Yeah. Okay, I'm okay with that. But looking at it, it's just like, oh, what the fuck? Yeah. But let's take Hulk shit and we're gonna stitch that in there. Let's take from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, let's take some of the on the surface, like social values we want to take of that, and let's just stitch those in there a little bit. The guy who plays Isaiah Bradley, I loved him too.
I've heard he was a good part of it.
When he's going into solitary, it's like you don't throw me back in there again. Like, okay, you can feel this man has been here before. Fantastic. He was fantastic as well. That's another plus. Overall, now that it's on streaming on Disney Plus, I recommend it. It is not one of my stronger recommends. It's in the middle of the pack for me as far as movies in the Marvel universe. Full disclosure, so that you know where I come from things. Endgame, I think, is one of the worst movies I've ever fucking watched. I hated the length of it. I hate that they gave up. Everything about that, like, it's one of the few Ender movies. I say that, though, modernly, that has been, because I didn't like Endgame. I didn't like Rise of Skywalker. Things that are supposed to end series of movies, I have not been a big fan of lately. So take that with a grain of salt as far as where I put my movies. I thought this was like in the middle of the pack. I don't want to say mid, because I think middle of the pack is still good movies that Marvel puts out, but this has Uncanny Valley just written all over, because I'm thinking more about the things that I'm not seeing as opposed to the things that are on the camera. That being said, I really loved the Celestial Island battle in the Pacific between the United States and Japan. Oh yeah, by the way, let's take World War II Japanese movie, and we'll stitch some of that in there too. And let's add a little Tora, right? For what? What the hell?
I find, so just want to add to what Jay is saying about this movie, just by, mentioning the Hulk and things like that, is I find it weird, besides the Hulk rights, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, that they didn't use him, because they could have, because even though Universal owns the character for solo movies, Marvel can use him in movies that are in the MCU, which is why Planet Hulk was the third Thor movie. Because it's
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok is Planet Hulk. That's what that movie is. I don't care.
Well, it's bolted on
70%.
It's 70% Planet Hulk,
and it's bolted onto the Ragnarok story.
And so they can use that character in MCU movies. They can use him in movies that are not like labeled solo Hulk movies. I don't know,
but we have to use him in the new Spider-Man, and we just don't have the room for him in this movie.
Right?
All of the Hulk villains.
You can't do both.
We already had one Hulk.
You can't do both.
That would be confusing.
Yeah,
we already had one complementary colored Hulk. We couldn't put the other one in there. Now, Falcon Captain America's suit also has like vibranium wings, which is fucking amazing.
So the crazy thing about Universal owning the Hulk character is that in 2023, Disney got the rights for the 2008 Hulk movie. That's all we know so far.
Yeah,
they're slowly getting rights back for movies that were already shot. But nobody knows when the actual rights go over back to Disney.
Yeah.
Can I say that the Ang Lee Hulk movie, I neither like it nor hate it, but I am so confused by it, because there were decisions that were made in that movie that absolutely throw me the fuck
I was
off.
confused by both of those movies.
Incredible Hulk is way more like straightforward. We need to make something to fight the Hulk. I'm Thaddeus Ross, and like I'm always fighting I'm always looking after the Hulk. Now, what I didn't like that William Hurt, rest his soul, they went from Sam Elliott to him. Look at any drawing of Thunderbolt Ross, and then look at Sam Elliott and go, oh,
yeah.
Sam Elliott didn't even look like that at that point, and that's who they based this off of.
The one of the only cool things for me in that first Hulk movie was the really sweet comic book panel transition they did with the editing.
That was actually interesting. There are some fascinating choices in that movie, but
fighting a giant pool of whatever it was,
that's a
the
really
Hulk?
bad movie.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the Absorbing Man.
Yeah, his dad was the Absorbing Man.
And
did you like the fight with the mutated dogs that you couldn't see even if you were in fucking theaters? Because I watched that movie in theaters.
Yeah, I did too.
And I could not tell anything that fucking happened in that part. It's a fascinating movie that is so fucking bad.
Let me go one for it, and this might be because of the current the way it's set up modernly. I can't think of a Hulk movie that doesn't have other Marvel superheroes in it. Might be, but to me, like if the Hulk shows up and he's causing shit, someone with a letter A on their fucking anywhere is going to show up to that. Like just the way it is. Like that's one of those like, yeah, what the hell?
That is the problem with the Hulk. If he lives in a world where all these other superheroes exist, like people have to show up to try and stop him. Like that's kind of the thing.
Yeah,
like
that's
somebody
part
has
of
to
the
fight.
gimmick of the character.
The most outrageous thing to me in Brave New World is that somehow Bucky became a senator, the man who canonically killed Kennedy in this world. The Winter Soldier killed Kennedy.
Yeah.
And the Starks. And people know this shit.
Somewhere Hank Pym was like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All I did was slap around my wife one time.
So, there you go.
Man. Bringing up Hank
That's why
Pym
the
just makes me
casting of
sad.
Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer, that I thought was perfect.
Yeah.
Oh
That
yeah.
was absolutely perfect
God,
casting.
too bad that fucking third Ant-Man movie was hot garbage.
Yeah.
Well,
never
it's
know.
hot garbage, and also it's a broken off stump.
Mm-hmm.
Because real quick, spoilers for a recent movie.
Yeah.
That did come out this year.
Uh-huh.
But it's the after credit scene. So I don't, first of all, I'm pretty sure they shot Anthony Mackie's stuff on a green screen because it doesn't look like he's in the room he's in.
Oh, okay.
That's part the first.
Okay.
Part the second. Leader is going, run all the probabilities and let's see how you heroes are going to handle when the others come. It's like, yeah, it's a multiverse, man. We've been talking about this for like 5 years now.
Yeah.
Like, you're not telling us shit that we don't already know. So like, I think that also is a initially, if it was the Kang dynasty and it's Kangs from everywhere, I think that has a lot more impact, but that's not happening.
No.
Yeah.
And so, so now it can just mean the multiverse is coming to attack us.
Right.
Like
I hate everything and everything sucks.
yeah. So, but yeah, I again, now that it's on streaming, I do recommend watching Brave New World. Just, you are going to be hit with the uncanny. You're going to go like from one end of the uncanny valley to the other.
Well, it's also, I mean, if you already pay for Disney and it's on there, I mean, it's not like paying $15. Well, I mean, if you don't get anything to drink, it's not like paying $15 and having to go out of your way to go to the theater and not liking something.
I did pop a bag of popcorn.
Yeah.
So
that's a whole different experience. So if you're chilling at your house, that's a whole different experience than paying to go see a movie. I paid to go see The Boy in the theater, not The Boys, the TV show, the horror movie The Boy with a friend of mine, and I bought both tickets. And people were talking through the movie, so I had double the bad experience.
See, there are bad movies I've gone to that I was grateful I went because, one, I went with friends, and two, I went with other people to gauge in real time real human reactions to things. The Pulse is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Period. End of fucking story.
The Japanese remake
of Kairo.
Kairo. Not The Pulse from 1988. That movie's badass.
Disagree, but we will talk about that.
Compared to the Japanese, I mean, the American version of the Japanese Pulse movie.
Yeah, no.
It's,
again,
it's,
one of the
yeah.
Again, but
yes,
the experience of being around people reacting to this shit in real time was amazing.
Right.
There was a lady behind me that every time something scary was going on, she would say this, "Oh my goodness." And I didn't know if she was legitimately scared or pretending to be scared because she was with friends who thought she would be scared. There was that.
Yeah.
When Christina Milian gets murdered by a ghost in the dryer, the guy behind me goes, "Oh man, we was going to repopulate the earth." You can't buy that type of comedy. You just can't do it. So like for the price of a ticket, popcorn and soda, well worth it.
Yeah.
We don't have those experiences. Instead,
right.
I get a guy challenging me to a fight because I told him Batman wasn't real, but whatever.
I mean, also in hindsight, bad experiences later on when your storytelling can be good experiences. And this, I'm going to leave it here. But when I saw the first Star Trek The Next Generation movie in the theater.
Oh, Generations.
Yeah. There was hardly anybody in the theater. It was me and two other friends, and there was three rednecks that were sitting in front of us. Right. There's a scene in that movie where they have to separate the saucer section.
Yeah.
Well, the saucer section like goes through the atmosphere or whatever and goes into a forest and like it just takes the forest out or whatever. And these rednecks are, that's a good way to take down trees, Billy.
Jesus Christ.
And I went,
You're Billy, Ethan. That's why he looked at you.
it's like, why are we here, man?
That's the reason. That's the reason. Oh no, or is why humanity exists.
I just want to watch this only good Star Trek: The Next Generation movie in peace.
I saw this piece of trivia and I don't even know if it's
First
real, but I'm gonna
Contact
put it on there.
exists, sir.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, First Contact was great. I
Yeah.
like that's when action in Star Wars, Jesus,
Star
Star
Trek.
Trek, action
Yeah.
in Star Trek
Yeah.
works. But the initial title for Generations was Star Trek 7 Generations 1.
Ooh.
That's a baseball score.
Yeah.
Like
That's terrible.
So before we get off topic even further, Jay, do we have any feedback?
technically that's even more off topic, but there you go. It's getting us back on point. And
Yeah.
no, we don't have any feedback.
Okay.
However, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being passengers on the bus, whether we are rambly or straight to the point. If you would like to leave feedback on this or any of our previous episodes, travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus at gmail.com. Jody Laravicious Kite. Where else can they receive the wonderful or give wonderful commentary on us?
Spotify.
Yes, take part in any of our polls for this or any of our previous episodes that still have active polls, and also leave comments on any of our episodes on Spotify. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for being passengers on the bus this week. If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to and like to share that with other people, but they don't listen to podcasts on the same things you listen to podcasts on, we're available on Spotify, Amazon, Apple. Ethan, finish the other two.
He says Spotify, Apple, YouTube,
Yeah,
YouTube Music.
through our channel, Travelers on the Omnibus. Yeah, and what's the other one? It's the difficult
What's
one.
the difficult one?
It's, the
It's
one.
not Google because that's
It's not
'cause
Google.
that's-
Yeah, because that'd be YouTube. Yeah. I'll give you a hint.
Heart.
iHeartRadio.
There you go. Very
Yeah.
good. I put him on the spot and he had it 50% correct. He also mentioned two of the ones I already mentioned.
Just so I couldn't mention them again.
Okay.
I like when we have little to talk about, we ramble more than we would if we had something to talk about. I know Brady
Yeah,
loves
that's
it.
usually how it works.
That being said,
Yeah, that being said, let's move on to our main topic.
The son of Gabe.
So we begin our tyrannical reign of Jody with him making us watch the 2021 movie Dune by one Denis Villeneuve,
Dune
directed
Part
by
One.
Part One. Yeah. Well, you didn't know that until the very end.
Until the very end.
Which
Lisan Al Gaib will return.
which may be a criticism of the movie.
The opening credit when it showed like the Dune title card, it also said Part 1 underneath.
It didn't in the beginning.
it didn't
in the
in
original
beginning, no.
version.
Oh, really?
The initial release on Max.
It's a later. It's also because I have the Blu-ray of that came out when the Blu-ray was released, and it does not say Dune Part One in it until the very end.
Really?
Yes.
interesting.
So yeah, we open on some Mongolian throat singing,
Yeah.
and the little title that says "Dreams are messages of the deep."
Yeah, they do that in. We're not going to talk about too much here, but like they do that in part 2. They start with like the Spacing Guild doing the whole, talking with the subtitles at the bottom.
And we start with some narration from Chani, one of the characters that we'll meet very much later.
Played by Zendaya.
Played by Zendaya.
Actually, real quick, I would like to get that. So, if you want to talk about stacked casts,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was about to mention.
Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Zendaya, Charlotte Rampling, Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem. Holy shit!
Did you say Stellan Skarsgård?
Yes, Stellan Skarsgård. I said it after Josh Brolin.
Okay. Yeah. It's a really, really strong cast. One of the things that really stuck out to me with this watch was just like one, there's a lot of exposition, and I think they introduce it in a way that at least makes sense. it is kind of baked into the story where you have these people who are coming to a world and a culture that they do not fully know. So of course they're going to have to get told about these things in various ways. And I think that they also like mix it up as how it's like, sometimes it's a character literally like telling them, sometimes it's, oh, Paul is looking at is watching, he's studying and things like that. So I think that they do that in an interesting way, because there is a lot of exposition that is probably necessary, because otherwise you're like really confused as to why things happen as they do.
Assuming that someone like me has not read the original,
doesn't know shit about Dune.
Does not know anything about Dune. I need that type of exposition so I know what the setting is, what all pieces mean.
This movie, Dune Part One, perfect. And I mean this as a compliment, though it's not going to sound that way. This is the movie that proved to me beyond any shadow of a doubt, you cannot do the first book of Dune as a single movie.
Yeah, there's too much.
The way to, and these two movies don't go into everything that's in Dune. I mean that as a compliment, and Denis Villeneuve realized that, and this is one of the reasons why I call this, and I don't mean, again, this is not being done as a pejorative. These are Denis Villeneuve's Dune.
Yeah.
This is not Frank Herbert's Dune. The story he creates over these two movies is fantastic. It is true to the themes of Dune. I'm going to say this right now. Right now in the 25 years of this century, this is some of the best movie making of this century for me, legitimately. From a Hollywood spectacle, from a story-wise, from character work, every single piece of these films is fantastic to me. And yes, full disclosure, huge Dune fan. Dune is my favorite novel of all time. So there is that built-in. But that to me can also work as a blade against as well, because I'm expecting certain things, and if I don't get them, that will make me mad.
Yeah.
But
that's understandable. She tells a little exposition like, hey, the Harkonnens have run Arrakis
for a long time.
Yeah, for a very long time.
And
Has
then
been very
all of a sudden they
horrific.
just leave.
Yeah. The Fremen are the native people, and then all of a sudden, like, they have to leave. And
by the Emperor's orders.
Yeah, by the Emperor's orders.
And now House Atreides was given the order to basically conquer. They're
basically given stewardship over Arrakis.
Arrakis,
yeah.
Arrakis.
Were you about to call Arrakis Icarus, and I was going to
have
you stab
I
you?
called it Icarus.
We cut to the Atreides homeworld. We meet Paul. He's waking up. All throughout, it's very heavy in this that he...
I'm going to do this a lot, and I apologize. I think one of the reasons why I responded so well to this and the movies he's done so far is Caladan looked the way I've always thought Caladan should look.
The Atreides home planet.
Yeah.
The Denis Villeneuve primarily, but I also have to credit, I believe his name is Greg Fraser. He did the cinematography for this movie. There are a lot of optical effects. There's a lot of CGI, but the physical places they picked and the way those places were shot are some of the best cinematography I've ever seen in my life. They're so good.
And Caladan is a very strong juxtaposition between that and Arrakis. Like
the planet of water.
Yeah, it's
almost.
Water's all over the place. If they're not near water, then it's raining.
Yeah.
On Caladan, you learn to swim by jumping straight into the ocean.
Yeah. And you do not see that in Arrakis ever.
No.
So yeah,
Paul wakes
up. All throughout this movie is like very, very heavy in this. Like I don't think they do it, and we'll talk about this next week, but I don't think they do it as much. I also noticed, like, because it'd been a while, I didn't get around to watching this movie when I watched the second movie, but there's a lot of like juxtapositions and noticing the differences, because I don't think like his visions you see all that much in part 2, but his visions are like crazy
heavy in
like
part 1.
Like it's constantly cutting to something that some vision that he's having of a potential future,
and they get more and more as
Yeah,
he's
and it
more
starts
more,
off like it's
Right.
a very short one. Like
once
just,
he
it's
gets
literally-
exposed to the spice,
Mhm.
especially, that ramps up like
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
yeah, you get just like this little short shot of
Mhm.
Zendaya's character, and he wakes up. We meet his mother, Lady Jessica.
Lady Jessica.
She tells him like, "Hey, if you want me to give you this,
This
use the
water.
voice.
Use
Use
the
the voice."
voice.
Yeah, use
We
the
find
voice.
out that it's like a way to like it's a thing that they can do to control people. So
Jenny Bezerits.
the Bene Gesserits.
Benny Gesserits, Jenny Besserits, Jenny Besserits,
Oh my god! I wish we had like a heart monitor.
I am sorry.
Jay's facial
Connected to
expressions are
Jay.
fucking great.
I am sorry.
I will never forget Jenny Besserits in my entire life.
I've told this story before on the cast once, but it was but I will tell it again here. When the Phantom Menace was coming out, I kept calling Liam Neeson's character Qui-Quan Jean. God will wait 20 fucking years before he fucking gets you back for shit like that.
So we find out that Jessica has been teaching him in the Bene Gesserit way,
Yes.
of the voice.
But he can't use the voice very well right now.
he's still learning.
He's still learning.
Yeah.
Then we get a little bit more exposition where they're talking about like
Well, I mean, he does it, and then she criticizes him for not using the right pitch.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like not bad, but
it
Right.
almost works, but
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Which she does again later on. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, they talk about Arrakis. Well, I think it might even cut to him like in his little like he has this like it's almost like a book, but it like does holograms that lets him look at
because
stuff.
that's when he's studying about
Learning about Arrakis.
Learning about
and the
Arrakis.
Fremen.
We learn about like they make spice, and spice is used by the Spacing Guild to navigate. And it's like
It's
literally
impossible not to navigate.
It's literally the most important
Yeah.
thing in the universe.
It's the most important thing in the universe.
And yeah, then we cut to the there's a ceremony of all the people of the Emperor. And one thing that also stuck out to me is like the way like the ships look. The ships look like actual like spaceships would look. Like they don't
Yeah.
care about like sleekness or anything
No.
like that, because if it's a spaceship, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, aerodynamics don't matter.
And there's always just like this giant like there's always like there's smaller ships that they use to land, but then there's like a big gigantic tube that's the one that they actually travel in,
Right.
and you never and it hit me this time, you never see inside that ship. Like you only ever see that ship
From the
pop into existence,
exterior,
and then
yeah.
the tiniest little ships come out of it,
Right.
You only see that thing twice.
showing you
Yeah.
that
Like
it
the
is
entire movie.
fucking humongous.
Huge.
You see
Right.
it 3 times actually, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
But you don't see it in space but twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We cut to Silver Fox Oscar Isaac as Duke Leto, waiting on the people from the Emperor to come down and the Bene Gesserit to come down to officially transfer power, stewardship over Arrakis over to him. We get the one joke in the movie,
Yeah.
which is Duke Leto tells Gurney Halleck to smile, who is played by Josh Brolin.
Brolin.
And he says, I am smiling. The one joke we get in the entire movie. The one purposeful joke in the
Right.
entire
Right.
2 movies, I
Right.
think. But they it's all pomp and circumstance, and they're all really like, oh man, this is. And you can tell like they all do not like this and do not want.
Yeah, I
this.
think also like he asks. I think he asks Gurney. He's like, "How many Solari?" Which is their credits.
he not Gurney, but the other guy,
Thufir Hawat.
Thufir Hawat.
Thufir, yeah.
Who that guy, I can't remember his name, but he's a great character actor. I love
is.
him.
Yes. Let me say this real quick also. Thufir Hawat is one of my favorite characters from the original book, and I understand something has to be lost.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
have to lose that. The fact that Thufir got lost will always kind of stick in my side for this,
Yeah,
because
I can understand.
because what the character goes through in the book, what the character represents. Paul had 3 teachers. He had Gurney Halleck for fighting. He had his mother for the Bene Gesserit way. But then you also had Thufir for teaching him the Mentat way.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reason why Paul ends up being like being put in the position he is the first person ever to be trained in the Mentat way and also in the Bene Gesserit way at the same time. Bene Gesserit is about emotion and place in space and time. And the Mentats is about cold calculation and thinking outwards and having a long view.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why that comes together in Paul. That's one of the reasons why it comes together in Paul the way it does.
Right.
Thief played by Stephen McKinley Henderson.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's a
awesome.
great character actor. But we find out that just to come down here and have him sign a piece of paper, they spent like an enormous sum of money.
Right. Just for this pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, he literally, all he has to do is like they pour the wax and he puts his seal on it, and that is it.
I love the touch of just this wood desk in the middle of all this, where they, stamp
the ceremony
contract
itself it sums up to like this could have been an email sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
they almost literally say that they're like, why did they have to come all the way here?
Exactly.
Right.
So, crazy Dune fan here. That is in there for the Dune fans because in the book, who owns the ring and the possession of that signet ring is, it's not a big plot point, but it is a plot point.
Yeah.
And is an item that puts a lot of focus to
Well,
it.
I'm not saying that it was not necessary to put in the movie. I'm saying that like the whole thing story wise,
no.
in the story,
the absolute unnecessity of them having to come do that. No.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, instead of having him sign a piece of paper, the ring is there.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's like, I've read the book, motherfuckers. That's basically what Denny's saying.
Right.
Yeah, and it's also like it brings back to an old, like, this is like 10,000 years in the future, but they still like hold to like these very ancient ways
So
that they call back to quite a bit.
It's way more than 10,000 because the 10,140. It's not Anno Domini or the Common Era. It's after another event. After, I think, when the Earth was lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back even like we're super future. We can't even count
because
it.
unlike the which we'll find out later on when we cover 84, they talk about the robot uprising. They didn't even mention that here.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that even in two movies you don't have to have.
It's not necessary.
Like they
it
could
really
go into
isn't.
like what the fuck mentats are.
We
but
don't. We don't need any of that.
And I would imagine like there are a lot of stuff with the one with Thiefer that are really cool. But like going into like specifically like the nitty gritty of like they're good at like this movie is very good at like, okay, what is the
touchstones?
What are the necessary things?
Yeah.
Like we don't have to know that mentat happened. You just need to see that, oh, there's a dude who can do really fast calculations. He's a helpful guy to the Duke or the Baron or whoever.
It's one of the few times I will say that a movie over 2 hours has not a lot of fat on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we get that contract signing basically.
Yeah, and then we meet Duncan Idaho, who is played by Jason Momoa. Another one of the only sources of levity in the movie.
Yeah.
Paul is trying to convince him to bring him to Arrakis.
Yeah, he's going to Arrakis early, and he's like, "Hey, you need to take me with you." And he's like, "No, because your dad would kill me."
Yeah.
Literally, I would be branded a traitor.
Right.
And,
Paul,
Duncan is like one of the only people that Paul like confides in about his dreams.
Yeah, he talks to him about his dreams.
Yeah.
He says that he sees Duncan dead.
Yeah.
And he's like, well,
dreams or whatever.
Yeah, dreams or whatever.
Yeah.
Like better be alive now than dead in a dream, something like that.
And then we skip to
this is when, and then Paul talks with his dad. I think that this is where they're at the
hill, the burial area,
Leadership isn't chosen; it's thrusted upon.
And this is where he basically tells him like, this is where he's like, yeah, this is kind of a trap. Like, the Emperor did this because we're on the rise. The Harkonnens are kind of have been like very strong, and he wants to pit us against each other for us to both weaken. Duke Leto is right in some things and very off in some other things about this. But he basically tells him like, yeah, we can't say no to this, even though we know it's a trap.
On top of talking about the family lineage, and he wants Paul to be You know,
I love the notion that we're so far in the future that bullfighting is still an activity.
Yeah, that's one of the weird things.
Right.
Like we're so far in the future, but bullfighting is still a thing.
didn't help your grandfather.
There was an interview with Herbert. One of the reasons why like Paul's name is Paul,
Yeah,
and why you have a name like Duncan, Idaho, which like is a weird pairing, but it's
yeah.
Duncan is a name. Idaho is something you can
have
attach to.
Yeah.
Lady Jessica.
You have these small hooks here and there that okay, this came from us.
Yeah.
Right.
Like one of those books that he's reading is the Orange Catholic Bible. That it's basically like a Bible, except it's now 10,000 years. So there's a lot more different sayings in there and things like that. But for the most part, it's something that the person reading that, okay, this is what this is, and just move on from it.
He confides in Paul that he wants him to take over at some point, but he can do it at his own pace,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. He also mentions desert power, which he will mention no less than 20 more times during this fucking movie.
That is a corollary with the book.
Yeah.
Because on Caladan they developed ocean power because that's what the planet is.
Right.
You need to develop Leto's.
It's just very funny the way he just several times just desert power.
Yeah, he does do that quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Paul does too later.
Yeah.
Leto's main mistake, and it's another reason why I wish Thufir was also part of it. Thufir's main mistake was they grossly underestimated the amount of time they had on Arrakis.
Oh yeah, he says that later. He says that later.
Like it's the great flaw from both of them.
Do we cut to the test now, or is that later?
No,
This is
before
there's sword practice with Gurney where we learn about the shields, which is a very interesting concept.
I do like
they
that.
have those personal shields where if something is moving very fast, it blocks it, but if it moves slow, it goes through it. Which makes sense why they're all carrying swords,
right?
Because if their guns are useless if everybody has these
Shields, yeah.
even your fucking ships have these shields. Like every single thing can have these shields. Then yeah, guns are much less more useful,
Right.
And the way that you use swords then has to be different, because you have to learn how to the slow blade penetrates the shield. And we learned that like this is where we also see that Paul is he's pretty good, but he's also reckless because he gets Gurney, but then he also gets himself. Like Gurney,
he gets
him.
real cocky during that fight, and he goes, "I got you."
Yeah.
And Gurney goes, "I got you too."
We would have joined each other in
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
Also, just in case if anybody was wondering, well, lasers exist. Well, if you cross a laser and a shield, you get a nuclear goddamn explosion.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't really see lasers, idiot.
The shields also have like a very sometimes disturbing, sometimes calming, like resonating sound to them, vibrating.
Yeah.
That will come up later.
It's a really cool effect that they use for it, because when it actually penetrates, you can see it hits blue, and then when it penetrates, it hits red. So you can see when
It's
something
kind of
is
like danger, like it senses danger.
Yeah.
So it's an indicator that something is like piercing.
Yeah.
That
very
veil.
cool. Very cool.
It makes
scene.
it easy to later on when there are actual like large scale fights. It makes it easier to follow, and you understand what's going on.
There's something that happens later that I want to mention when it comes to the shield.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We then cut and meet the Harkonnens. We meet Beast, Rabban, and the Baron,
Batista.
who is an incredibly fat Stellan Skarsgård. We meet him naked, which is that's a way to do that. He's in a nice steam bath. They basically say like, yeah, we're gonna fuck him up, like because Beast. You understand just from them calling him Beast that like he has a temper and he has problems with that, and everybody is scared to shit of him except for the Baron.
He's also his uncle.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. They do mention like his uncle.
He's like, why did they give the Atreides Arrakis? We were doing fine.
And he's like, no, don't worry, I got this.
He's like, but, and then like, there's always these cool lines. Like almost every scene in this movie that has a line has a cool line, and then Baron goes, "When is a gift not a gift?" Oh, I just love that. It's so cool.
I also like that Stellan Skarsgård looks tired every single
Oh, yeah.
scene.
Oh yeah. Man, he really does look like he is so done with shit the entire time, which I appreciate.
I like how his floating makes him feel like, oh, he's still tired.
Yeah.
Effortlessly.
This is where we get the test scene where the Bene Gesserit, the Reverend Mother, comes down and tests Paul, makes him put his hand in a box that makes him hurt, and if he pulls his hand from the box, she's going to kill him because she holds a needle to his
played by Charlotte Rampling. I want to throw that in there too.
Yeah, she's
perfect,
great.
Perfect cast.
She's great because she is a gigantic cunt.
She also, like, before the test or as the test is happening, she goes, "Your mother's guarding the door and no one can help you."
Yeah, nobody's don't call for anybody because it's not going to work.
Put your hand in the box.
Put your hand in. What's in there? Pain.
Yeah.
I love also, like, while he is experiencing it, Jessica's experiencing something on the other side of the door. I don't know if they're
like don't like the Bene Gesserit have like empathetic powers where they or something like that.
A lot of people
powers, but it's like
okay. So in the '84 Dune, it's like, oh, they're psychic.
Mm-hmm.
No, they are attuned to basically the presence of emotion.
Yeah,
and so like she know and also she's gone through the test before,
right?
And so she knows exactly what her son. So it's not just a Bene Gesserit sensing emotion. It's a mother that knows the pain her son is
also,
going through.
she repeats that fear's the mind killer.
Fear's the mind killer, which is probably the most famous
the litany
line
against
from
fear.
Yeah.
That one and the Mentats taking of their drugs, where it's God damn, never mind. Disregard. That's from the '84 Dune. We can talk about that in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So Paul like is struggling at first, but then you see he's able to calm himself and actually
stares her down, and she's like, "You can stop now."
Yeah, makes it through the test.
Yeah.
We find out that Lady Jessica was supposed to give the Duke a son, a daughter. She was not supposed to give him a son. Because he might be, but Jessica did because she thinks that he might be the Kwisatz Haderach, which is like their Messiah character that they're trying to bring about. The Reverend Mother is like, "Hey, yeah, we tested him because he's going into the fire, and we don't know how he's going to react to that. So we want to make sure you're training him in all this shit, and that makes him very dangerous. So we want to make sure that he can control himself."
Right.
No. Yeah, that to an extent, we hope we want to control him because if he is, then we have control over the super being.
Yeah,
that's the Bene
Gesserit's.
There's so much interplay. Like you mentioned, Jessica did what because Leto wanted a son, and she wanted to give Leto a son, but she also wanted to be the mother of the Kwisatz Haderach, which I think that's something that gets downplayed a little bit in the '84 Dune, and is also kind of forgotten in the initial book.
Yeah.
In later books, it's particularly in Children of Dune, it becomes more.
And in part 2, because in this scene, she also mentions hope that she mentions again later on, and Jessica is like the most non-Bene Gesserit out of all of them because she's like, what about hope? And like the Reverend Mothers are always like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. We don't hope.
We don't hope. We plan.
Yeah. Our plans are measured in centuries.
Yeah.
She says, and she basically tells them like, "Hey, we did all we could for Arrakis. Good luck."
Yeah. There plans in motion.
Okay, so they don't name it directly, but there is this thing called the Missionaria Protectiva on thousands of worlds across the entirety of the Imperium, where the Bene Gesserit have set down. They have established beliefs, systems, customs that if someone is to be the Kwisatz Haderach, it will fall in with these beliefs, ideals, and customs, and so they will see their savior, and that will be an extra level of protection for that person because they'll have a whole planet who believes in that. So that's the reason why when they say things have been set up for you. It's not that it's not like 2 weeks ago. It's like quick, get him on Arrakis.
Well, she also mentions like, if he fails, we got others. Like
Yeah,
we're working on all these fucking.
Yeah.
all these
There are
fucking
many
planets.
bloodlines in play.
Well, specifically,
Yeah.
if she'd birthed a daughter, the plan was to have the daughter marry Fade, who's you'll find out in part 2.
Yeah.
And it would seal the breach between the Harkonnens and the
Atreides.
And the Atreides.
Yeah.
But because there was a son and nothing to match, it drove them apart again.
Gotcha.
We get a quick montage of them getting ready to leave, packing up all the shit, and then coming to Arrakis. We find out that in the very, very far future, there are still bagpipes, which is amazing that that's what survived.
Right.
Because
I mean, if bullfighting can survive, then I'm pretty sure bagpipes aren't that too far away.
yeah, sure.
Star Trek also taught us about bagpipes. So.
As they're coming
Caladan
on,
is basically coastal Scotland.
Yeah, pretty
like
much.
it just is.
Right.
they're as they're all coming out of the ships and everything. There's like all these people there.
The Fremen.
The Fremen.
The Fremen.
Thufir tells them like, "Hey, don't these guys? They're still in Harkonnen time. Like they think all this is mandatory.
Right.
But you have people there like as they see Paul, they're like yelling out Lisan al Gaib, and Paul's like, "What the fuck is that?" And Jessica's like, "Yeah, the Bene Gesserit's been here and they've planted these stories." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, that sucks."
Yeah.
Like you said, they see what they've been told to see. They come into the city. There's a really cool scene where Jessica's like trying to find a new
Housemaid.
housemaid.
Yeah.
And she clocks this one person and it's like, "Hey, you have a knife."
You have a weapon on you.
That's the shout out Mapes.
And then she gives the guard like the Bene Gesserit sign
Yeah,
language.
there's like hand signs that she's
like,
has.
"Don't do anything right now," kind of thing. But it's a gift.
Her and Paul
though.
use that later. They're cool. The lady says that no, this
It's
is
a
a gift. Here's a knife.
Tooth of Shai Hulud.
Yeah, she starts like undulating.
Right.
Which everybody was like, "Whoa, fuck!"
Yeah, calm down.
And tells him like, "Hey, your son's the Messiah, basically.
Right.
Give this to him, please." Spoilers: he doesn't get the knife.
Yeah, I found that weird watching that. I never noticed that.
Well,
the
they
last
throw
time.
in because because Paul is constantly. I have this vision of getting this knife, and they do a really good job in this of he gets these visions, and they very rarely come out exactly how he sees
Right.
them. Which is a really cool thing. Like, oh, you can see the future, but it might not actually happen like this.
Right.
There's one really tragic one that I want to talk about later.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we see a really interesting scene where Paul is outside and there's this dude
Palm
just
trees.
watering palm
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah.
Palm trees still exist. That's crazy. And he's
5
like,
men's worth of water.
yeah, we have to.
Daily.
Yeah, the guy is like, "Hey, you shouldn't be out here because you're gonna get a heat stroke." And Paul's like, "Why are you watering these? Like, it seems like a waste." And he's like, "Oh, these trees are sacred."
Right.
And he's also there's people like in a bunker looking thing that's like yelling at him and stuff. Let me see. This is where they also this is where Paul is learning some more about. This is where we're learning specifically about sandworms. And then while he's learning all of this, it's really cool. He's like in the middle of the hologram. This little hole bores out, and this little drone comes out.
Oh, the Seeker?
The Hunter Seeker drone, like
Let
a
me
little
say,
assassin drone.
When we get to 1984's Dune,
Oh, yeah.
it's a similar scene, but I'm just gonna leave it at that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stay
it's gonna be
tuned
very
in-
fun.
stay tuned in 2 weeks.
because I know bits and pieces of the movie.
Yeah.
But Paul is able to like stay very still to where it can't see him, and he's also in the hologram. But then somebody opens the door and he ends up catching it and stopping it from hitting the person.
Is this before or after they meet Stilgar?
This is before.
This is before.
Okay.
Also, the maid that opened the door was the same.
Yeah.
Was shout out Mapes.
Yeah.
They find out they basically they basically entombed a spy,
A Harkonnen spy.
in the fucking walls to control the
the
drone.
Seeker. Yeah.
And Thufir is like, "Hey, I fucked up. I'm gonna I'm gonna resign.
I will resign from my
and
position.
Duke's like, no, fuck that. You need to just do better.
Yeah, don't worry about my respect or whatever. Find the person who tried to kill my son.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when they find the guy on the wall.
This is where we cut back to Gedi Prime, where the Harkonnens live.
Mm-hmm.
The Reverend Mother comes to see the Baron, and we find out that this isn't just the Emperor pitting two people against each other. This is a plot to take out the Atreides,
to wipe them out.
Also included in the scene is Piter de Vries, the Mentat for House Harkonnen, played by David Desmalkin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great actor.
Great character actor, yeah.
Wish he was in this more, but what can you do? Apparently the Mentats get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
We also see that the Baron has a really weird ass pet thing.
Oh yeah,
it's like
the
all
spider
black
person
spider with like
gimp suit,
like gimps, yeah, because it has hands.
Yeah,
really like the most disturbing thing in the whole.
It was pretty
movie.
Weird looking.
But yeah, she comes to him and tells him like, yeah, the Emperor is going to give you his Sardaukar, which are his like elite troops, in order to take down.
These are genetically enhanced humanoids.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Bene Gesserit's like, hey, can you, Jessica and Paul are under our protection. We ask you to spare them. Kill the Duke. We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And then after she leaves, the Duke's like, the Baron's like, nah, we're, I'm not going to kill him, but hey, if I
said that I wouldn't kill him, but the desert does not care.
Yeah.
I'm a stone scar, so I'll take a nap now.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear about, we also then hear about like, we go back to Arrakis and they're talking about how, the Harkonnens basically sabotaged the whole operation. Like they left them, like they either messed up all the equipment or left them with less equipment than they need to, because they have to get Spice up and running. Because if they don't eventually meet these certain quotas, then like that's really bad for them.
At this point, hasn't Duke Leto Atreides met Kynes?
This is where this is where we first hear of Kynes, who is the person who is supposed to be in charge of transitioning from the Harkonnens to the thing, and they talk about, we're going to meet them.
Right.
Let's see. This is now where Duncan Idaho comes back. He's found the Fremen. This is where we meet Stilgar. There's a really fun scene where Stilgar spits at them.
He walks past the guards and spits right in front of the Duke, and everybody like freaks out.
And
then Duncan
this
goes
is a good bit of exposition where Duncan's like, "Hey, we thank you for giving up your precious water."
And then he spits on the table.
He spits, and then
the Duke spits, and
then the Duke tells him, "Hey, I want to work together with y'all. We want to have like a more symbiotic relationship instead of a more antagonistic relationship." And Stilgar's like, "Hey, could y'all please just stay out of the desert?"
Yeah.
And the Duke's like, "I can't guarantee that, but we'll try to not be so."
He goes, "You can mine for spice, but do not
stay out of our
deserts."
Yeah, and our the name for their communities,
Siege.
Stay out of our sieges.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm done talking. Goodbye now," and he just leaves. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Stilgar is funny, but he's not meant to be funny in the movies.
Oh man, he gets real funny in the second one.
The second one, he is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
He becomes a meme.
Yeah.
If you thought Anton Chigurh was Javier Bardem, it is Javier Bardemist. No, it's Stilgar in here.
This is now where we meet Liet Kynes. They're all going to go out and see like the actual production.
How Spice production is going.
They all get what are called still suits, which Liet Kynes explains like these are
Fremen made still suits.
These are Fremen made still suits. These are made to keep all your moisture in and provide you with that moisture, so that at most you lose like a thimbleful throughout the day.
He's very impressed that Paul knows how to put his on right.
Paul knows how to, and she kind of mentions that
he will. I can never quote it right. He will know your ways as if he were born to them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is part of the Missionaria Protectiva. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And
it's baked into every bit of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks, "Hey, are you Fremen?" And she goes, "I'm not going to tell."
My eyes are blue.
My eyes are blue, and I know a whole lot about the Fremen, but you know,
This is exactly how actress Sharon Duncan Brewster sounds. She sounds she sounds like a Skeksis for some reason.
I couldn't do the thing in the Skeksis because my when we were talking about that because my voice was dying.
Right.
So Dr. Liet Kynes is a man in the book and is played in the 1984 version by Max von Sydow.
Right.
So if you see this without any of that context,
Yeah.
okay, you see it with it. It's like, wait, what? And let me say this: she knocked it out of the
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
park.
Yeah.
Also, something you don't get from this, that character is in the book and should also be in the movie as well. Is the mother of Chani. They don't go in. They don't go into that. But in the book, that's Chani's father, and it's Chani's. It should be Chani's mother. And it's like,
okay.
and again, that's another thing. If you've read the book, it's like, oh, now I know why the recasting.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So this all
interesting.
makes sense.
I
now.
gotcha.
Okay.
There's a really cool scene where they go out to see one of the actual crawlers collecting sand. A sandworm's coming. They're in the. One of the coolest things that you get from Dune is the eye of the ornithopters, which are they're
Mechanical
basically
dragonflies. Yeah.
Like they work like dragonflies, which is very interesting
cool.
way
Very
to
cool.
do.
Very
do that.
Mobius.
Yeah. Well, and in the books more so, and then in the 84 movie, they were more bird like. I think this was an absolutely excellent choice. First of all, just the sound of them is cool.
Yeah.
So like when they're going through, I think
it's very
great.
like you know that you're watching Dune when you see some shit like that. But a sandworm's coming and they call in this thing to pick it up and take it away.
Called carry-all.
A carry-all. It doesn't work like it's and they're like, hey, look, it's being sabotaged, and Liet Kynes is like, I don't see any sabotage here. So they have to rescue the people. We show that the Duke is like he cares about people.
Yeah, he's like, fuck the machine.
Yeah,
and that's also a thing that
spice
pushes
production.
Kynes towards supporting them.
Yeah.
Because it goes, fuck the spice. And
Yeah.
and they make the choice to specifically in just one
Show
in a very
her
shot,
face.
show her like turn and
Yeah.
have a reaction to
Yeah.
that.
So
We can fit like 9 people on each thopter.
Yeah, we can throw some shit out and we
Yeah.
can fit everybody.
Yeah.
So they get them all. So as they're getting them all out, Paul was first of all told to not leave the.
He's like, stay in the back.
But he goes
He
out
immediately
and
leaves.
he's like moving people in, and then like there's a part where like dust like comes by and he takes in the spice and he starts visioning the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we don't see it right now, but we see it in the later scene
Right.
what he sees.
Right.
But he kind of zones out and Gurney has to go get him, and they almost get eaten by a sandworm. It's a really cool shot where the sand like
It's vibrating.
and draws in the
like
crawler
almost like a.
to where we see the scale of these fucking things,
Right.
because you only see like a dust cloud basically.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Liet Kynes is like, yeah, there's no sabotage here. I don't know what you're fucking talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We cut back to the starter car preparing to go. It finally hit. We cut back and Leto finally sees like, oh, we don't have
We're
any.
fucked.
We don't have any time. This is happening very soon. And
then the next scene.
Oh, we also
it
find
happens,
out that that Paul knows that Jessica is pregnant.
Yes.
How do you know that? I just barely know
I just
that.
found out a week ago or something.
The attack commences, and then this doctor that we've seen like helping everybody.
Dr. Yui. Wellington Yui.
Yeah.
We find out that
He lowered the shield.
he lowered the shield. He knocks out the Duke. He kills some of the guards or knocks out the guards.
Well, this is when we see, like when Ethan was talking earlier, how you wanted to mention something else with the shields. The Duke, like, you know, looks over at the maid has been murdered.
Yeah.
And he turns his shield on. And he's trying to call for help, and he can't call for help. And you see a seeker, and it starts going through his shield in the back.
Like it hits very quickly, and then it slows down and starts
and he can't get to it because it's in the center of his back.
Yeah.
And it stabs him in the back and paralyzes him.
It basically paralyzes him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see
Shit
that
starts
then the
blowing up.
starport gets attacked. Gurney is at the
so many
starport.
lasers.
So
Yeah.
many lasers.
they see that like, oh, the shit's being attacked. Gurney fights. I believe it's the Harkonnens over here. I think the Sardaukar actually go into the city. We see the city being attacked.
Well, and I want to stress specifically here in the book, and I think they divvied them up more, I guess, to kind of just show like what the Sardaukar are capable of. But the Sardaukar come down in full Harkonnen livery, so you don't know which one is which.
Yeah,
and so it just looks like it's just two houses pitting it, so that the Emperor cannot be implicated in any of it.
Yeah. The doctor is with the Duke, and he's like, hey, I had to do this. They have my wife. They're going to kill her. To free her, I had to do this. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a fake tooth. You bite down on it. It's going to kill you, but you're also hopefully going to take everybody in the room with you.
The Baron specifically.
Duncan fights a whole bunch of the Sardaukar. He fights his way into and finds out that Jessica and Paul are gone. We see that they have been captured. They're in an ornithopter with with the other Harkonnens. They have covered Jessica's mouth.
Has
gagged.
Has been gagged so that way she can't
because
use the
they're
voice.
not stupid. And they got to her by using a guy who's deaf, which means the voice doesn't work on him.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
Paul's they're doing sign language.
Yeah, she's telling them like, hey,
you have to use the voice.
You have to
she's
tells
telling him
don't.
She says you're not ready to.
She says you're not ready, but then he tries,
and he gets punched for it.
Yeah, he gets punched for it, but he's eventually able to do it. We also see Duncan like taking off in an ornithopter in a really cool escape scene where he's fucking people up. That's really cool, and he eventually is able to get one of the guys to take off Jessica's gag, and we see
when they're about to throw him out.
Yeah, and we see the voice in full effect where she's telling them like,
she goes, kill him,
you know.
Then she stabs him in the throat.
Yeah, Jessica eventually, and you can tell like this is also the first time Paul has ever seen anybody die in front of his face.
Right.
And they escape off in the desert because they turn off the ornithopter because they figure out like,
that was a cool scene too, because he basically let the Force take hold of him. And I mean it's for me reminiscent of that trench run from the first Star Wars movie, where he just lets it go.
The doctor left them supplies in this ornithopter.
A steel tent and
tent and everything. We cut back to Silver Fox Oscar Isaac
laying naked
in a chair,
still paralyzed.
The Baron eating very grossly.
Yeah. You have a great kitchen, cousin.
Which one was more disgusting, this eating scene or the Skeksis eating?
No, the Skeksis.
Yeah.
No, I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea that Stellan Skarsgård eats.
Both of them less gross than Dennis Quaid.
I was about to say the substance. Yeah, I was about to
say somehow.
No, that motherfucker he commits sexual assault on that
shrimp. That movie is streaming on Mubi.
Yeah, because they own
what?
They got the stream. They got the right. They bought the movie.
Mubi.
Yeah, they're really making a push to put out.
Yeah,
like they're becoming a place that like gets movies and like puts them out.
They're more of an art house international,
but they're really good at they go to a lot of these festivals and buy the distribution rights to movies, but they're also really big on like putting them out on physical media, which I love. So yeah, Paul and Jessica are in a tent. Then they bring the doctor in back. They're back with the Harkonnens. They bring the doctor in, and he's like, "Hey, can you free my wife?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. I'll send you to her." And then he kills him.
Yeah.
So the wife was never alive.
Right.
Then the Duke starts kind of whispering, and
the Baron gets like cautious, and he activates his shield.
He activates his shield and gets really close.
What was that?
Yeah, he's like basically fuck you, and then he activates the stuff. We think killed everybody in the room.
The gas releases, and you just immediately see like like the Baron immediately turned red.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that gas is penetrating the
And
shield.
everybody else starts collapsing. And they
Right.
close the door.
Yeah.
We also see that the doctor left Paul the signet ring.
Yeah. And a little scroll letting him know almost everything that had happened.
Mm-hmm. Duncan meets up with Liet Kynes.
Mhm.
She tells him like, "Hey, I was told that I could see nothing and say nothing by the Emperor. So
they killed all of us."
Yeah. The cleanup crew comes to try and gather up all the corpses from the poison attack. They find that the Baron with his the Baron's like super fat.
Mhm.
So he uses like a levitation device to move around.
Specifically a repulsor suit.
Yeah, and he flew up and got. I think it's supposed to be like he got above the poison.
Yeah.
And that's the only way. But he is like severely injured because he's like choking.
Mm-hmm.
They do this. It's like a horror shot where they're like walking in and then they hear like, and then they look up and he's like all up in the corner of the ceiling.
It's okay though because he has a vat of black goo that he can sleep in.
Then we have we cut back to Jessica and Paul, and they're in the tent, and there's spice all in the tent. So it's giving Paul all of these visions, and he sees a vision of him basically leading this war that kills trillions of people. And that really fucks him up. Like he's like, "What have you done? What have you done to me?" Like he's really pissed off.
She tries to hug him
because he sees that. Yeah. This is all happening because the Bene Gesserit have put this into motion, and he is really pissed because he doesn't want to have all of this blood on his hands.
Yeah, he has he doesn't have many outbursts in this movie, but he basically calls his mother, you turned me into a freak, you Bene Gesserit bitch.
Yeah,
and then this is where we see him use the voice on Lady Jessica.
He uses the voice, not in full force, but like you see that like he's getting like where he's actually like she's starting to respond to it. He meets up with Duncan. Duncan finds him in an ornithopter. They take him.
They're very happy.
They take him to this station where this was like they were supposed to terraform the planet, but then they found spice and it was like, oh, we can't do that now.
Right.
We could have like made this place a paradise, but
yeah,
we gotta have that shit.
Right.
He finds Kynes is with them.
She decided, I guess, to help out.
Yeah, she decided to help them out. Then the Sardaukar find them. There's a really cool scene where there are some Fremen there, like in the outer part of it, and then the Sardaukar come down and they've disappeared and they come up from underneath. It's really cool.
In their Fremen suits.
In their Fremen suits, like you see earlier in the movie where they do ambush. They hide in the sand and then they pop up, which is really cool.
And then Duncan sees that they're attacking.
Yeah, he basically closes the door behind him to hold them off, and he takes out like 6-7 of them.
And this is where Paul reacts because it's the vision that he had on.
Yeah, it's literally the exact vision that he had.
He starts
Duncan
flipping out a little bit,
dying. But while they're trying to escape, like Duncan's holding them off, and he gets down, but then he gets back up. He has a real Jason Momoa moment,
right? Because we have a moment where they're like using a laser to bore through the door, and they can't cross over past that point, And then Duncan shows up and like starts
and takes out like 3 more of them.
And it gives them just enough time to eke out.
It's really cool because he like fucking pulls the knife out of his chest and starts killing more people with it. Liet Kynes tells him like, hey, you go this way and get in this ornithopter. I'm going to go this other way and go to the next station and tell everybody what's going on.
Tell the Lanzarod.
Yeah. And then who is like the Senate that like kind of Senate thing that
it's basically
all the great houses,
all the houses. Yeah, basically is the Lanzarod. And this is where she finally goes, well, I'm Fremen.
But he's like, how are you going to survive? I'm Fremen.
This is and this is one of my favorite scenes of the movie. This is my favorite scene of this particular movie.
It's stronger than how Kynes dies in the book.
Where
way stronger.
You can see she puts down this thing
it's like a thumper.
A thumper is what they call it, and it makes this rhythmic sound. And you know that rhythmic sounds draw sandworms
because she's about to ride one. That's what her plan is.
She throws down, but the thing is, like, if you don't know anything about Dune, you don't know what she's doing. She like has these hooks in her hands,
right?
And you see the worm coming, like, because you know the dust cloud.
They kind of remind me of like the hooks that Cabal has in like the Mortal Kombat games.
Yeah. Frank Herbert definitely ripped off.
It started with Jenny Bezeret, and then you fucking call Frank
Herbert
Maker hooks.
Played Mortal Kombat 3 and definitely took those straight from Cabal.
I hope you get cancer of the ass. I hope you die shitting blood, motherfucker. How dare you call Maker's hooks Cabal's weapons from Mortal Kombat 3?
First thing I thought of, okay?
First thing I thought of. That's you. That's how dumb you fucking sound to me right now.
It's been a while, but your age is finally showing, Ethan.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I hope you get eaten
So
by a
while
worm.
she's waiting, she gets knifed in the back by one of these dudes.
Do they pop the thumper?
Not just one of these
they
dudes.
don't.
It's
the
the
Sardaukar.
fucking Sardaukar.
Well,
Yeah.
I've already mentioned that they're Sardaukar, so I was
Right.
trying to save some time, but let's make it longer. And they go like, "Hey, you betrayed the Emperor. Why did you fucking do that?" And she says, "I have only one master, and it's Shai Halud, which is their name for the
And she
sandworm."
starts like fisting
And
the
she starts
sand.
like hitting the sand,
She gets all up in that sand.
yeah, just
She
elbow deep.
pounds the sand
she's
pretty
really
hard.
pounding the
deep.
sand hard.
She's really
So she
thumping
starts
it.
hitting
And
the
that
sand.
hole opens up.
It does.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
does.
filled with teeth.
And then like
They made a horror movie called that.
Yeah.
Then it gets. Then they all get sucked down into the sand.
mouth
which
of the
is,
worm.
Like really, really.
It's a
fucking
really cool scene.
So and then Paul and them fly off. She tells them like, "Hey, there's this storm coming. So if you fly like so far above it, like it's just sand and it's not going to be as bad.
Yeah.
Otherwise they'll kill you."
But then the Fire Nation attacked.
yeah, there's missiles, so they have to like evade them and go into the like where they're not supposed to go in the
Right.
sandstorm.
Because that's just certain death.
They're barely making it through. One of the wings pops off, and Paul like gets a vision or something, or like hears voices because there's always these voices with his with his visions, telling him to just kind of like let it go and just
I
go with the flow.
prematurely talked about this a second ago. I crossed over like both Thopter flights, and this is what I was talking about.
one thopter or another.
Yeah. This is
and
when
he just kind of like lets
lets
go
the
and
spice
pops back
control
the
him.
wings.
Yeah.
And they just kind of float through.
Go
Yeah.
with the flow of it.
And then they're eventually able to like come up above things.
Well, he figures out like how high they are,
Yeah.
and then hits the rockets on
and
the
then hits
Thopter,
and
and then the
and
Thopter
then-
starts falling
then
apart.
the another wing pops off
Yeah.
and they're like, "No, we can't do this anymore." Well, they start gliding
with the two wings that
with
are
the
working.
two wings, and then one wing pops off and they're like, "Nope, we're going straight fucking down."
Yeah.
Then they just become a torpedo. At the
He's
Yeah.
like, go for the rocks whenever we land.
Yeah.
We get cool sand walking at
yeah,
night.
he has to teach her how to sand walk because
He learned it from his studies.
he learned it from his studies. Otherwise, they're gonna draw the
The
worms.
worms, yeah.
Then they actually meet a worm. This is where we cut back. Also, the Baron is still alive and he has to be in this like weird tar pit.
Pool.
The
It's like
super
tar
gross.
meets oil meets
Yeah.
water.
I'm
sort of
pretty
thing.
sure that was just boiled Skeksis.
Beast Robin tells him like, "Hey, they have to be dead. There's no way they made it through that storm."
Right.
And he's like, "Cool. Squeeze Robin, squeeze hard. We have to make up for this lost time."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes like, "What?
Sell all of the spice, but slowly.
What about the Fremen?" And he says, "Kill them all."
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that, because we find out earlier that like the Harkonnen estimations
Was like 50,000.
was like way lower,
Way under
way
than what
lower
it is,
than what it actually is of how many Fremen
Yeah.
there are.
Desert
There's
power.
there's 10,000 per siege. There's hundreds of sieges
yeah.
with Starbelly Sneeches. I had to get that out of my head. Thank you. Okay, move on.
They're Paul and Jessica are in the sands. and they see a worm coming, and they don't make it, and the worm just kind of stops and looks at them. And is like, "What the fuck are you?" This is where we actually see this is the first time where we see a worm like outside of the sand. So we see even more of the scale of these fucking things. And I don't think this is even like the biggest one that we'll see.
No, it's not.
It's not even close.
But it stops and you hear this like thumping. And they're really close to like some cliffs and stuff. The sandworm goes away, he just fucks off. He's like, "Well, I guess I'll let you go." But then they find out that the Fremen are over here,
and then we meet back with
Stilgar.
Not just the Fremen, Stilgar.
Stilgar shows back up, and before this, I want to mention this because
the visions.
Paul's been having this vision of this particular Fremen,
specific Fremen,
who
Jamis?
seems to be
Jamis.
I think that's his name.
That is correct.
He said it right.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, no, don't think that forgives you.
I could have said
They're
Jamis.
obviously in the visions. They're
I've been
obviously
wrong,
friends, and this is a person who is like teaching him the ways of the desert,
right?
And they have a very positive relationship. The Jamis that he meets is
It's not
this
positive
Jamis,
at all.
because this Jamis fucking hates his guts. He's like, he's not. So Stilgar kind of believes that he's the Lisan al,
Right.
Or at least at this part, I don't think he's fully bought in, but he's definitely like, this guy could be the Lisan.
He's under the impression that Paul can be trained in the ways of the Fremen.
Yeah.
However, Jessica, they're going to use her for water supply.
Yeah.
basically.
She's just a woman.
Yeah. But then she fucking takes him down, and he's like,
You
"Oh,
did not tell me you were a weirding woman."
yeah, that's a really cool line."
Yeah.
And this
Paul runs up to get a better advantage because he has a gun.
They took from Jamis.
They took from Jamis.
And still
He meets Chani up here. She says, I wouldn't have let you, like, you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would have happened.
It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
This is where Stilgar tells everyone to like stand down,
Like calm down.
Yeah.
she can proceed with us.
We'll take him to our place, and then we'll figure out what to do there.
Jamis did not like this.
Does not fucking like that. He fucking hates that. He's like, I'm going to challenge you, and now we have to fight to the
Where's
death.
your champion? Where's your champion? And then
it was more so him challenging Jessica because she took down.
Well, him challenging Jessica challenged Stilgar because he said like this. No, we can't do this. We can't teach him the ways of the desert.
Right.
He doesn't even go here.
Stilgar gets beaten by Jessica, so Jamis is like, you got beaten by a woman.
Yeah. You're supposed to be the strongest.
I denounce you as leader. We're fighting, and then Paul goes,
steps up as Jessica's champion.
Yeah. Guess I got to do it. He sees a vision of himself dying.
Yeah.
Shani tells him like, I don't believe you're the Lisan al-Gaib, but I'm gonna give you this knife. He's a pretty good fighter, so he's not gonna let you suffer, but you're definitely gonna die.
It would be an honor for you to die with my weapon.
Yeah. Paul fights what I thought was going to be an interesting juxtaposition with the way the second one ends. At the very beginning, at the very least, there's no music in this fight. It is all just them.
Just action.
These two movies do knife fights really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there comes a point where you can tell that like Paul can beat him kind of at any time, but he's holding back and
he's wanting Jamis to yield.
Yeah, he keeps telling him yielding. He's like, no, Stilgar's like, no, you can't.
To the death.
It's to the death.
He gets him the first time, and like Jamis is pissed.
Yeah, Jamis is pissed,
and everyone else is laughing.
Yeah, because you're making a fool.
Yeah, because he's making a fool of him, and he's a young kid. And Stilgar's like, hey, why is he like toying with him? And Jessica's like, because he's never taken a life.
Right.
Like, it's not that he's toying
and
with
him.
him.
It's like 3 or 4 times that he makes him like, it gets to the point where he could have made him yield, and he's not yielding.
Yeah.
It's Stilgar. I think it's Stilgar. He's like, you've got to kill him, right?
Yeah, you have to kill him.
You have to kill him. And
he
yeah,
does.
he does. And Jessica's like, okay, can you take us somewhere to get us off this fucking planet? And Paul's like, no. Well, my way leads through the desert.
Well, like Stilgar's like, we can't, we have no way of doing that. And
But,
Paul's like,
A life for a life.
Paul's like, the Emperor sent us here to die. Fuck it.
Yeah.
There's a part that I miss, and of all things, this was actually shot for the '84 Dune.
Mm-hmm.
Right after the kill, And it's like Jessica's like, I have to get to him before the glory of this gets to him, and goes, she walks up to him and goes, how does it feel to be a murderer? And reestablishes the guilt about taking a life for no good reason.
Yeah.
That's part one. The second part is Paul cries, and they all see that, and that's part of the Missionaria Protective, that he offers water to the dead. And that part wasn't in there either, which I think of all the things he got in there, that was one of those few things that's like, I really wish would it have been there, because that really just hammers home like the spiritual significance of him.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. And then it's
pretty much the walk
Dune
off.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Paul will return in Dune Part 2.
You kind of get a shot of Chani and everybody in the line.
We get the cut
They're
of
taking
the
off.
vision that Paul's had this entire movie.
Yeah.
Of,
You also,
of Chani with the sun in her back.
yeah, you also see a worm rider in the distance. And
Yeah,
like,
we finally see people riding worms, which is cool. So it's like,
Sand
hey,
power.
you'll definitely see that shit in the next movie.
Yeah. The score is kicking in too. You got
Hans Zimmer.
Fucking Hans Zimmer score.
I meant to mention that earlier.
Yeah, man.
Hans
The
Zimmer,
score in this movie is fucking phenomenal.
Who, from what I read, is a really big Dune fan. I think
You could tell.
But yeah, and that's it. Which I would think is like one of the main criticisms of this movie. Is really half a movie. It feels like it's just getting going, to be honest. For being a 2.5 hour movie, it does feel like it's just getting going. But overall, I think it's a very good movie. I love Denis Villeneuve. I haven't watched. There's only like 2 of his movies that I haven't watched, and I've loved every single one of them that I have watched. I think he's one of the best directors that we have of like adaptations or continuations of other works. He did Blade Runner 2049. But yeah, this is a great movie. The cinematography is very interesting, I think, because it's this washed out but also rich somehow. I don't understand.
It's very muted.
Yeah.
The coloring is very muted in this,
Yeah.
and I think it's more natural. And I think the natural coloring, I think, allows you to, okay, I'm in this place now. This is a real. This is something real. This is something.
Yeah, because it's like, you see like, when earlier on when like Paul, when they're trying to rescue everybody from the spice mining, and he's like freaking out from all these like visions from the spice or whatever.
Yeah.
The little glittery like spice nodules that are like mixing in with the sand are so bright and vivid on the very muted background of him, because the coloring of it.
And also, like, again, another to color theory. Caladan, blue as fuck.
Right.
Arrakis, orange as fuck.
Right.
There are no two. Those two colors are completely separate on the color wheel. So when you are one, like blue, peace, calm, orange, despair, kind of like conflict. All of these things are kind of it's 2 different locations, and the coloring just
and they continue that in the next one, and we'll talk more about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Between like Getty Prime and then
well,
the
one
Emperor's
particular
Homework.
scene which is like one of my favorite special
Oh,
effects
yeah.
shots of all time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more. But like the when you see the princess,
Irulan.
like that.
Yeah.
That world looks different than the other world.
Yeah, for sure,
Yes.
for
So
sure.
they do a good job with that.
Yeah, the contrasts.
Yeah, I like I said, other than the annoyance of this is really half a movie.
Because technically it is half a movie.
Yeah, because technically it is half a movie, but it like one movie that's like 5 hours couldn't be done. I understand.
Right.
That.
It's a full movie, but it's half a story.
Yeah.
Sure.
That to me, because like
Yeah.
to me, like this is a movie.
Right.
Like
Right.
you sit down in it, you get you get a features length worth of content.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just that features length worth of content constitutes half of a story.
But I also think like nowadays that's not as bad because you have both of the movies that you can
Yeah.
watch very close together or
Yeah.
back to back if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Back in when it first came out, that was very frustrating because the new movie wasn't fucking out.
And let me go one further than that. It would have been more frustrating if not for COVID, because this movie came out during COVID.
Yeah, it came straight to then HBO Max,
Yeah.
now also HBO Max.
Yeah,
used to be
soon to be
Used to be
HBO
Max.
Max.
Yeah, that it came out theater and Max the same day.
Yeah. And so you could watch it at home and then or you could even you could go to the theater and then like rewatch it at home to pick up stuff that you maybe didn't catch the first time. There's a bingeable quality to this movie. I would say more to the second one because there's so much, like this movie is so packed with information.
Yeah,
like
this
the
is
stuff we mentioned here. If you're just casually watching this movie, you can miss some of it.
This movie and a lot of people will say like this movie is very slow, and it is because it's setting up all the pieces. Basically, this movie like walks so that the second movie can run.
Yeah.
Because
It's taking its time explaining all of the intricate pieces that will lead up to much more.
yeah,
There's a lot of
because the second movie like from the start is pretty much. It really doesn't take a breath hardly. There's a couple of moments here and there, but for the most part, it just
That's
doesn't.
because
I think of it as a reverse Kill Bill, where Kill Bill 1 was like action, 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 and then Kill Bill Volume 2 is like a lot of setup to that one final event.
Yeah, it's like the first movie, there's like so much foreshadowing that pays off in the second movie.
And they do a good job of like I said, juxtaposing things that happen in the first movie with the second movie.
One of my favorites is something I missed the first time. And I'll just leave it at this. It's the last things Gemma says to Paul before the fight. It's a callback and a pay it forward to Dune Part 2. I'll leave it at that for right now.
So yeah, I think that's
this movie gets my highest recommendation. It is as a longtime Dune fan.
Yeah, apologies. Apologies.
You got anything more about the Jenny Bezeret? And you got the Jenny 8675309 Bezeret, like that you want to get out of your chest real quick?
Oh man, those really look like cabals. And
yes, there you go, man. It's cabal swords and shit. Yeah, it's real great.
That fucking Frank Herbert, he had to just rip Mortal Kombat 3
He had to go
off.
30 years in the future to fucking play Mortal Kombat 3.
You know, the alien from Enemy Mine, the alien kid from Enemy Mine is called Jamis.
Motaro is a Bene Gesserit.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I did because I read the wiki.
Let's keep interrupting him for like another minute, please.
We need to wrap this shit up.
We do. I can add a minute's
made it
worth
through
of
this fucking movie very quickly,
You
and I am proud of myself.
Yeah, no, you did a very good job. Everybody, let's commend him. He is the Reverend Mother Helen Gaius Mohiam of this podcast. So yes,
this is the equivalent of me stopping somebody from stealing condiments.
There you go. Absolutely.
Ethan, hurry up and say
that wasn't on mic, so nobody knows what the fuck we're talking
condiments
about.
that were thrown at them.
I'm disappointed I did not watch this movie when it first came out, but I am so looking forward to watching part 2 next week.
Oh, was this the first time you saw this? Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
I'm glad that I chose this then.
Wow, we got 3 movies that you haven't seen then, because I know you haven't watched 1984.
Oh, that one I did watch.
Oh, you did?
No.
I was about to say.
He fooled you, Reverend Mother.
Man, you were in for such a treat.
Okay, so Jody is the Kwisatz Haderach. You're the Reverend Mother. That means we have 2 more titles we have to figure out for the rest of the cast here. But we'll figure it out at a later date and time.
Yes.
Yeah. So that wraps up this one. Dune's really good, turns out. When you take a really good story and give it to a really good director with really good writers,
loves the story.
Yeah.
Who knew?
With also actors that also love the story.
There's 2 ways you go about it. You get Denis Villeneuve for Dune, or you get Tony Gilroy for Andor. Because Tony Gilroy is like, I wasn't beholden to Star Wars, so it's like I could do something with it. And that
he wasn't beholden to Star Wars, but he also is really good at his job. So.
Yes, he's also but that is true. Yeah, but not beholden and good at your job. The good at your job is baked into it, really and truly. There you go.
So yeah, I think that wraps it up. Before we go, thank you, McNarb Gaming, for giving us this this place to record
called love.
Yeah,
we just
that too.
Can't handle it.
Yeah, check them out if you want anything nerdy.
Final Fantasy will be on Final Fantasy: The Magic of the Gathering.
By the time this episode comes out, it will be
gone.
past this
Yeah.
pre-release, but
Ethan,
Yeah.
how mad would you be if I called it Gadget the Mathering?
okay.
I'll find something, goddammit.
Yeah, that won't be it though.
I can't say anything about his wife because Bianca Binion is Bianca Binion.
It's Bianca Skinner now.
That's what you think. Got him! Got him!
Man,
Oh, man,
you
on that
really,
note.
that was a man. You really set him up for that
Yes.
one. On that note,
On the note of that, yes.
join us next week for when we watch part 2 of Dune. Part 2.
Dunes Part 2.
Yeah,
Austin Butler pretends to be Stellan Skarsgård.
yeah, which actually works.
Yes.
I wonder if he had to if he had to go to therapy to get rid of the Stellan Skarsgård accent like he did with Elvis.
I'll leave it on this real quick. He didn't tell Skarsgård he was doing that, and so the first scene they did is it's like my nephew. Yes, my uncle.
I wish Austin Butler and Marlon Brando could have met. Jesus
No,
Christ. Yes.
no, we would have all died.
Yes, I want that so
Dad,
much.
you want to die?
I want those two to have met. Jesus Christ.
They could have been on the island of Dr. Moreau
That's
together.
what I would do if I had a time machine. I would bring Austin Butler with me and have him
Would
meet.
you have replaced
Have him
Val
meet-
Kilmer with Austin Butler in that movie?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh my God! That probably would have been. We're gonna
Way
eventually
better.
Talk, we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about that eventually.
What
I'm
if
gonna I'm gonna make us talk about that one.
We're gonna
day.
recast a movie with Austin Butler and
What if we actually?
I just
did
wanted
that?
him to try and act really hard, and Marlon Brando having none of it. That
No,
would've been
what
so-
if-
Okay, let's. Jesus
Okay.
Christ, man.
Yeah.
Talk about this off
Travelers on the
screen.
Omnibus.
Yeah, for Travelers on the Omnibus, I am Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Guy.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
See you next time.
You were about to say tomorrow.
Yeah, it is tomorrow.
It is.
Yeah, we started today and ended up at tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Oh,
we're
look, we're back.
we're Kwisatz Haderachs.
If that's how it works, sure.
I hate that. Okay, one thing that is just nitpicky. Kwisatz Haderach. It's like there's like 8 phlegms in that just shouldn't fucking be there.
I like it that they add so much to it.
It took several viewings of both parts 1 and 2 for me to get over Harkonnen because it's in the 84 movie, it's pronounced Harkonnen.
Fucking Frank Herbert said Harkonnen.
Right.
Every time I hear them say that, I think like it's actually secretly West Virginia. It's like you Harkonnen for a beating, boy. I swear to God. Old God's Appalachia. Sneak that in there, Hooray, Kirk.